All right, Mr. Martin's class, welcome to the deep dive. We're going to get into something super interesting today, like how all the different parts of your body work together. Like how your heart and lungs and brain all kind of team up. And biologists, well, they call this integration of body systems.
Yeah. And it's pretty important stuff.
Right.
It is. It's like well, think of it like a car.
Okay.
A car has an engine and it's got wheels and a steering wheel and brakes and all those things are important. But none of them on their own can actually get you to school.
Right.
They have to all work together. Your body's kind of the same way.
So it's not just the parts, it's how they talk to each other and connect.
Exactly. Your heart pumps the blood, your lungs bring in the oxygen, your brain, that's where all the thinking happens. But none of them can do their job without the others. And that's what makes system integration so cool. Like, how do all these individual pieces create something so much bigger and more complex? So true. So each system is like an expert in what it does, but it's got to be a team player too.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
So where do we start with all this? Like, what are some of the big players in this whole body system team?
Okay, well, let's start with two that are really important for, communication and control in your body.
Okay.
The nervous system and the endocrine system.
The nervous system. Okay, so that's the brain, the
Right.
spinal cord, all the nerves. It's like the body's super fast internet connection.
Perfect analogy. Your brain, that's the command center, processing all the information, making the decisions. It's controlling everything. I mean, everything from how you move to how you feel, your emotions, your memories. Then you got the spinal cord, which is like a highway for those nerve signals carrying messages between your brain and the rest of your body.
Okay. So how do those messages actually get around? Like, how do they travel through the nervous system?
Neurons. That's where neurons come in.
Okay.
These are like specialized cells. They're the messengers of the nervous system. And they're different types.
Each with a specific role. Like, you've got sensory neurons, which bring information from your senses so you can see, hear, smell, taste, feel.
Right.
Then there are motor neurons, which carry messages from your brain to your muscles telling them to move.
Right.
And interneurons, which connect different neurons in the brain and the spinal cord, so they help to process and relay the information.
So like when I touch a hot stove and I immediately pull my hand away, are those my neurons, like in action?
Exactly. That's a reflex.
Oh, okay.
A super fast involuntary response. It's designed to protect you. And it happens because the sensory neurons in your hand, they detect the heat and send that signal to your spinal cord. The interneurons in the spinal cord, they immediately pass that signal on to motor neurons, which tell the muscles in your arm to contract and pull your hand away.
Wow.
And it all happens so fast you don't even have time to think about it.
That is incredible. What about, I know the cerebellum is part of the brain, right? What about the cerebellum? Does that do anything in this scenario?
Yeah. Oh, good catch. The cerebellum is really important for coordinating your movements and helping you keep your balance. So while the spinal cord is handling that initial reflex, the cerebellum is helping you not fall over from the surprise,
Oh.
It's another example of how all these parts work together.
So cool. So the nervous system,
Yeah.
super fast for like those immediate responses, right?
Right.
What about the endocrine system? What's that all about?
So the endocrine system, think of it like the body's postal service.
Okay.
It delivers messages, but it uses hormones,
Uh-huh.
which are chemicals that are released into your bloodstream. They travel slower than the signals from nerves, but the effects are powerful and they can last a long time.
So they're like little letters delivering messages all over the body.
Exactly. Let's look at a couple of examples. Have you ever wondered why you feel sleepy at night?
Oh, for sure.
Well, that's partly because of a hormone called melatonin. It's produced by the pineal gland, which is in your brain. Melatonin helps regulate your sleep-wake cycle. So it makes you feel tired when it's dark and more alert when it's light.
Makes sense. I mean, that's probably why I can never stay awake in biology after lunch.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, think about how you feel before a big game or a presentation. Do you get that, like, burst of energy?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like your heart's racing, you're ready for anything.
Totally.
That's adrenaline. It's also known as epinephrine.
Okay.
It's like the fight or flight hormone
Oh, right.
produced by your adrenal glands. So when you're faced with a stressful situation, adrenaline kicks in, your heart rate increases, you get more blood flow to your muscles, your senses sharpen. It's getting you ready for the challenge.
Like my own personal superpower.
Exactly.
But is anything like controlling all these hormones? I feel like there needs to be someone in charge. like making sure it all works smoothly. You know what I mean?
You're right, and that's the hypothalamus. It's a tiny, tiny region in your brain, but it's super
Oh,
powerful.
wow.
It works with the pituitary gland, which is often called the master gland, because it controls the release of a lot of other hormones in the body.
So the hypothalamus is like the boss, and the
Hmm.
pituitary is like the supervisor, making sure all the messages get to the right place.
Exactly. And this complex system, it's happening all the time,
Wow.
even when you don't even realize it.
That's amazing. So it seems like our bodies have these like internal communication networks, always sending messages back and forth.
Mm.
But with all this information flying around, how do they stay balanced?
Well, that's where feedback mechanisms come in. Think of them like your body's um, internal thermostat,
Okay.
always monitoring, adjusting, making sure that you have a stable internal environment. We call this balance homeostasis, and it's vital for life.
Okay, I get it. It's like a thermostat.
Okay.
But how does that work? Like, can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's look at how your body controls your heart rate. You have these special sensors called baroreceptors,
Okay.
and they're always monitoring your blood pressure. So let's say you start running. Your muscles need more oxygen, so your heart has to pump faster.
Right.
The baroreceptors, they pick up on that change in blood pressure. They send a signal to your brain, and your brain, in turn, sends messages through the nerves to your heart, telling it to speed up.
So it's like this constant conversation happening
Yes,
between the sensors and the brain and the heart. They're
absolutely.
all working together to keep things balanced.
Exactly. And this kind of feedback loop, it's happening throughout your body all the time, keeping everything in check.
That is incredible. It really shows how important communication and coordination are for our bodies to like function properly. We'll be right back to explore even more of this fascinating stuff.
And welcome back to the deep dive. So we've been talking about how different systems in your body work together, like a really well-coordinated team. But there's another communication network that I think we should talk about.
Okay.
It's called the enteric nervous system.
The what?
The enteric nervous system.
Okay.
Sometimes it's called the second brain.
Wait a minute, a second brain. Okay, that sounds pretty intense. Where is this second brain?
It's actually in your gut, in your digestive system.
What?
Yeah, it's a huge network of neurons that's like embedded in the walls of your intestines, and it's controlling everything from the movement of food to the production of enzymes, even blood flow.
Wow, so it's handling all the like behind the scenes stuff of digestion.
Yeah.
But why is it called a second brain? Does it actually think for itself?
Well, it's really complex.
Okay.
It's got millions of neurons, more than your spinal cord, actually. And it can operate on its own, like independent of the central nervous system. So it can make decisions about digestion without like constant instructions from the brain.
So it's like a super skilled team that's just like handling all the details of digestion.
Right.
So the main brain can, focus on other stuff.
Right, right.
That's efficient. But the two brains still got to communicate sometimes.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Think about swallowing food. That's a conscious action. Like your brain makes that decision.
Yeah.
But once that food hits your esophagus, the enteric nervous system takes over. It coordinates those muscle contractions that move the food through your digestive tract.
So it's like a relay race.
Mm-hmm.
The brain hands off the baton to the enteric nervous system, and the food is on its way.
A great analogy. And the communication goes both ways, too. So the enteric nervous system also sends signals up to the brain. It can affect your appetite, your mood, even your immune system.
Whoa, it's like everything is connected, even down to the microscopic level.
Exactly. Now let's switch gears for a second.
Okay.
Let's talk about how our bodies interact with the world around us. Our senses, sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch. They're constantly gathering information and sending it to the brain.
Right. So our senses are like the input channels feeding the brain information.
Exactly. And the brain takes that sensory input and it combines it with our internal state, our memories, our emotions, and it creates a response. Like imagine you're walking through a park and you smell fresh baked cookies.
Oh, I love that smell.
Right. That sensory input might trigger all sorts of things. Your mouth starts watering, your stomach rumbles. Maybe you even feel a sense of happiness or nostalgia,
It's amazing how our bodies can take in all this information from the world and create these complex responses.
It is, and it's not just our senses. Our bodies are also constantly monitoring our internal environment. Things like temperature, blood sugar levels, hydration, all that information gets integrated to maintain homeostasis, that balance we were talking about before.
Right. So our bodies are always trying to stay in that comfortable zone,
Hmm.
adjusting to changes both inside and outside.
Exactly, and that ability to adapt is really important for survival. Now, let's zoom out for a second and think about how plants, which, they might seem less complex than animals, they also show this amazing system integration. I mean, they don't have brains, but they've got some pretty cool ways of responding to their environment and keeping that internal balance.
Yeah, we talked about phototropism before, how plants bend towards light. But what other examples are there?
Well, consider gravitropism. It's a plant's response to gravity. So roots grow down into the soil and shoots grow up towards the light. Have you ever thought about how they know which way is up and which way is down?
I mean, I've never really thought about it like that.
Right.
So how do they do that?
They have special cells called statocytes.
Okay.
And inside those cells are these like tiny starch-filled structures called amyloplasts. Now, these amyloplasts are heavier than the fluid in the cell, so they sink to the bottom. They act kind of like mini
So
levels.
they've got these like built-in gravity sensors. That's so cool.
They do.
But how does that make the roots grow down and the shoots grow up?
That's where our friend auxin comes back into play.
Right. The position of those amyloplasts affects how auxin is distributed in the root tip and the shoot tip. So in the roots, auxin actually builds up on the lower side,
Right.
where it inhibits cell growth, which makes the upper side grow faster, and that bends the root down.
So it's like auxin is this growth regulator, but it can have different effects depending on where it is in the plant.
Exactly.
That's pretty awesome.
And in shoots, auxin promotes cell elongation on the lower side, which makes the shoot bend up towards the light. So the same hormone can have these like opposite effects depending on the situation.
Wow, that's like a multi-purpose tool for plant growth.
Yeah.
Are there other examples of how plants respond to their environment?
Oh, tons. I mean, plants can respond to touch, changes in temperature, whether there's enough water, even if they're being attacked by insects or other animals.
Wow.
Like some plants release chemicals to like keep pests away or produce toxins to defend themselves. They can even send signals to other plants, like warning them of danger.
It's like they have their own little communication network going on. It is. It's like a whole world of interactions that we're just starting to understand.
That's incredible. And the more we learn about these intricate systems, both in plants and animals, the more we realize how like interconnected everything is, from the tiniest little cell to like the whole ecosystem.
Right. Life is this huge web of interactions.
It really is. This is all so fascinating. It really makes you think about the complexity and the beauty of life, you know? We'll be back in a moment to explore even more cool stuff. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It's been pretty wild so far, learning how our bodies are like these amazingly well-coordinated machines.
Right. All these systems talking to each other, working together. It's incredible.
It is. We've talked a lot about how our bodies react to things, but I've been wondering, do they ever anticipate what's going to happen next?
Oh, that's a great question. And the answer is absolutely yes.
Right.
Our bodies are super proactive. Like, think about what happens when you wake up in the morning.
Well, I usually stumble out of bed and try to find my way to the coffee machine.
Mhm. Exactly. But even before you do that, even before you take that first step, your body is already getting ready for the day. Your endocrine system is releasing hormones to give you energy. Your heart rate's going up a little. Your digestive system is prepping for breakfast.
So it's like our bodies are already one step ahead,
Yeah,
like anticipating our needs and getting ready for what's coming.
exactly. It's all part of your internal clock, what we call the circadian rhythm.
Right, the circadian rhythm.
It's a fantastic example of system integration, like everything we've been talking about. This rhythm controls so much, from your sleep-wake cycle to your hormone levels, even your body temperature throughout the day.
That's wild. It's like our bodies have their own little schedule, making sure everything runs smoothly. But this anticipation, it's not just for our daily routines, right?
No, not at all. Remember that cheetah we talked about earlier? When it sees a gazelle, its body doesn't wait for the chase to start before it takes action.
What do you mean?
Like, its nervous system is already going, sending signals to increase heart rate, breathing, the muscles are tensing up, hormones are flooding the bloodstream. It's getting primed for that explosive action.
So it's not just reacting to what's happening right now, it's predicting what might happen next.
Exactly. And this predictive power is even in our brains. As you listen to this podcast, your brain isn't just absorbing information, it's trying to guess what we're going to say next.
Really?
Yeah, filling in the gaps based on what you already know and what you've experienced.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So how we see the world is shaped by our expectations, our predictions.
Yeah, it's like our brains are constantly writing a story and our bodies are the actors following the script.
I like that. But what happens when things don't go according to the script? What happens when these systems get messed up?
That's a good question. And you're right, something this finely tuned could easily get thrown off. Disruptions in system integration can lead to all sorts of problems, health problems. Like, think about autoimmune diseases where the immune system attacks the body's own tissues, or hormonal imbalances. They can affect everything from sleep to how your body uses energy, even growth, and even chronic stress, like being stressed out all the time. That can really mess with our systems and lead to a whole bunch of negative effects.
So keeping this balance in our bodies is really important for
Huh.
our overall well-being.
Absolutely.
It's like we're the conductors of our own internal orchestras.
Hmm.
We got to make sure everyone's playing in tune.
A perfect analogy. And that's where lifestyle choices come in. Getting enough sleep, eating healthy foods, exercising regularly, managing stress, all those things help keep our bodies in harmony.
It's amazing that the choices we make every day can have such a big impact on how our systems work.
Yeah.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to how everything inside us is connected.
And remember, we've just scratched the surface here. There's still so much we don't know about how our bodies work. Scientists are always making new discoveries about the brain, the endocrine system, the gut microbiome, how they all interact.
It's like there's this whole universe inside us just waiting to be explored.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe some of you listening will be the ones to make those groundbreaking discoveries. The future of science, medicine, even technology, it all depends on us understanding how these systems work together.
Well, Mr. Martin's class, that brings our deep dive into the integration of body systems to a close. We've covered a lot, from cheetahs on the savannah to the amazing workings of our own brains. I hope you've learned something new and maybe you've gained a new appreciation for how complex and amazing life really is.
And remember, this is just the beginning. Keep asking questions, keep that curiosity alive, and never stop being amazed by the wonders of the natural world.
And if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe to The Deep Dive for more fascinating explorations into the world of biology. And if you have any comments or things you'd like us to improve, let us know in the comments below. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.